Okay, so welcome to the webinar, Is Remote IT Vulnerable? So this is a quick friendly reminder. Please make sure that your mic remains muted throughout the presentation. If you have questions, you can send it to me directly in the WebEx chat in the right-hand corner. In the end, there will be a question and answer where we will read out the questions and answer them. If there are any additional questions that you have after the webinar, you can feel free to contact me directly. First, I want to introduce my company, the company that's hosting this webinar, Compulink Technologies. My name is Tahsin Chaudhary, and I am from Compulink Technologies. Before we get into the main subject of the presentation, I would like to discuss more about who we are and what it is that we do. So we are an IT solution provider and services provider. We have been in business for over 35 years and provide our services to businesses and organizations of all sizes and industries. We have worked with small, medium, and large businesses, in addition to government agencies, education institutions, and large transit authorities. We hold partnerships with leading IT manufacturers such as Cisco Systems, F5, HPE, and Dell. What are our capabilities? At a high level, on a high level summary basis, here are some of our capabilities. So first and foremost, we can do managed IT services. We can provide managed services, which means that you can outsource your IT or expand your existing IT team. You can focus on more strategic tasks while Compulink Technologies closely manages your organization's IT. And then we can do cybersecurity. This is the subject of the current discussion, but we do provide managed cybersecurity and different types of security solutions. Our security solutions can help with threat detection and prevention, email phishing, which is very important. We're going to get to that in a bit, endpoint device security, and internal network monitoring. Cloud services, moving operations such as accounting, finances, collaboration, communication, etc., and just overall productivity into the cloud is becoming more and more the norm in today's industry. Some organizations are fully in the cloud, while others are hybrid with the balance between on-prem and in the cloud. We have the capabilities and the resources to ensure our clients are able to find what they need when it comes to the right software as a service product. Like managed services, cloud services also reduces cost to a monthly or yearly payment with pay-as-you-go pricing, with pay-as-you-go type of pricing that is highly flexible to each organization's needs. And then we have network infrastructure, where we have access and the resources to ensure that your network, let it be remote VPN or even on-premise access points, hardware, etc., are fully connected with optimal, efficient connectivity. And then when I talk about business continuity, it means a different thing in today's world. So it means that business continuity basically is your business or organization prepared for any scenario? Is it able to continue the operations in any scenario? In this case, we're talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and working remote. So Compulink Technologies, back in spring, during the initial onset of COVID-19, we helped multiple New York City government agencies become remote enabled, and some of our technical engineers bravely, diligently made sure that New York City agencies became remote enabled. Next is data center services. This doesn't only mean large scale data centers, but it can. But from the single server storage company to the large data center, we can handle it all, from the data center upgrades to maintenance and cleaning up the data centers. We can handle it all. We closely work with you to make sure that your servers and overall storage memories are as capable of growing along with the growth of your businesses. And finally, to sum it all up, is professional IT services. To actually implement all of these services, we have a team and resources of technical engineers and expert project managers that work closely with you to make sure managed IT services, cybersecurity, cloud services, network, etc., are all sufficiently implemented. And something I forgot to mention is all our technical engineers are certified, and they've been working in the industry for many, many years, and they're tested, so to say. So what is our process when it comes to project implementation? So First is expert consultation. Our project managers and technical engineers work with our clients on discovery of their IT environment. They run a complete assessment and find out the strengths and areas of improvement in your technology. And we consider this more of a get to know you phase. And then there comes strategic planning. So once the team learns more about your IT environment, they work with your preferred IT spend budget to find the most cutting edge and reliable solutions from our large suite of services and products. Once we find the perfect combination that gives you, the client, the best bang for your buck, we develop a detailed project plan and a scope of work that outlines timelines and expected outcomes. And finally, during the implementation stage, our technical engineers and project managers execute the project. Whether it's remotely or on site, they closely communicate with you on the project progress. We have a track record of completing projects efficiently, on time, with a dynamic approach to the client's evolving needs. So let's sum it all up, right? It's basically, what is Compulink Technologies? It's basically headache-free IT, let the experts handle it. You focus on the success of your operation, the growth of your business. We can handle the IT part of it. Don't worry about it. So this is our contact information. So, you can contact us at sales@compulink.com, which is basically the email address that if you email this address, you reach a broad team of Compulink, talented Compulink account managers. Next is my email, my personal email, tchaudhary@compu-link.com. You can send a message to that email to reach me directly, and our office number is 212-695-5465. So now let's get to the subject. Let's get to what we're all here for. So congratulations, you made it to the first of many webinars of the Compulink webinar series. We are holding these webinars to ensure that we share the latest insights, the latest trends and strategies in the IT industry with the business and government agency world and education, just all types of professional organizations. We are an IT resource, and we want to share the insights we've gained from 35 years of business. So today, the webinar subject is remote IT vulnerable? And the reason why I wanted to do this is because remote IT is very common in today's world because of the pandemic, and remote IT becoming more and more common and work from home becoming more and more of the norm leaves vulnerabilities in endpoint devices. And Kevin will get more into it, but a breach into endpoint devices or into the network basically can be devastating for the entire business or organization or government agencies. So my presenter today is Kevin Switzer, a top cybersecurity consultant from Cisco Systems, and he's done this webinar multiple times with multiple other end users, and he is an expert on this subject matter. So right now, I will stop sharing my screen, and before we get into Kevin's portion of it, I just wanted to tell you that if you have any questions, you can write them out in the chat, send them to me directly, and we will answer them towards the end. And there will also be a feedback questionnaire towards the end regarding what your thoughts are on this webinar. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Kevin, you can take the screen away.
All right, I'll get this up on the screen. And you should be seeing momentarily
Kevin, are you muted?
the full slide. Oh, I must be muted. Are you able to hear me, Tasheen? Are you able to hear me, Tasheen? Hello, hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Kevin, are you speaking? We can't hear you. Oh.
Are you able to hear me?
My computer was on mute. I'm sorry.
Okay. Woo. Okay. Are you able to see my full slide now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So just a little bit of background about myself. As mentioned, my name is Kevin Switzer. I'm a technology consultant with Cisco, and I've been working with Cisco for a little over 13 years now. In the beginning, I was in pre-sales engineering, kind of a jack of all trades, doing designs for, you name it, collaboration, security, wireless, route, switch, all of those things. And then about almost 7 years ago, Cisco had decided that they were going to go all in and make big investments in the security architecture and actually break it out into its own architecture within Cisco. And that really kicked off with the acquisition of SourceFire, which is now Cisco Firepower. And over the last several years, Cisco has made over $5 billion just in acquisitions of security companies to add to their portfolio, and about another $3 to $4 billion in developing those products into what they are today. So huge investments. And I shifted over to the security side at that time, and entirely been focused on security since then. And an agenda for what we're going to go over today. Now, about, I'd say, at least a third of what I spend my time on at Cisco is tracking and researching what's actually going on in the hacker and attacker world, because this really is a strategy. We have to understand what they are really going after, what tools they're using, the strategies they're using, so that, on our side, we're able to anticipate that, block the threats, things like that. So I'm going to give you a little bit about just what we're seeing going on out there right now, because it's been quite a major shift going on since the beginning of March. I'm going to talk about some solutions by Cisco that specifically get in the way of these types of attacks. So we'll touch on Firepower, Meraki, AMP for Endpoint, AnyConnect, Umbrella, email security, as well as Duo. And then also we will mention some resources that are available to you through Compulink, should you really want to dive into any one of these solutions. And as mentioned, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. And if you want to, you can just send your questions over to the chat, and we will address them either during the conversation if they really need that, or we will answer them at the end. Okay, to start off with these security trends, obviously we have a whole lot of new work from home users, and that shift had to occur extremely quickly when everything went to, we can't have people in the office. The first thought was, oh my goodness, I got to get my employees able to at least connect to the networks from their home. And that was done very quickly, and for many organizations, it was not, security was not top of mind at that time. We did see a problem where a lot of users, either they did not have VPN available to them, and that's because the systems that were in place simply were not designed to handle that amount of VPN users and VPN workload. So many people either didn't have access to using VPN, or they were not used to working from home. They didn't know that they had to activate that, or didn't really understand how important it was to be operating off of their VPN. And then also a major problem was that people working from home, they don't necessarily have a robust security solution at home. And many people don't even have passwords on their wireless networks and things like that. And in addition to that, depending on where you live, if you're in the rural areas and there's not a lot of neighbors, it's not a big deal. But think about all the people living inside of big cities and in apartment buildings, and there's all kinds of Wi-Fi, all kinds of people have access, or at least able to look up those networks and try to connect to them. So this definitely created a whole lot of new security holes that we're not used to seeing. Now, one interesting thing we ran across with one of our security partners, a lot of these security companies, they do try to hide and operate on the dark web just to kind of see what's going on out there. In this case, they actually went out there and said, hey, we are so-and-so security company. We have a question for you. We'd like to know if you plan on stopping attacks against hospitals, because prior to this, one of the biggest problems we had was ransomware locking down hospitals, because they knew it was such a dire situation, people would likely pay up. And two of the major ransomware operators actually responded and said that they would stop attacking hospitals during this pandemic. And partially because, okay, there is some honor amongst thieves, but also they were stating that, well, geez, if we actually took down a hospital, it would have terrible effects, and they were more worried that the authorities would actually track them down and come after them. So now these attackers really have shifted their focus to the newly deployed work from home users because there is such security gaps in that space, and they can pretty easily, break into that and get user credentials and things like that. And for some odd reason, we are seeing a very large spike in attacks against vaccine development centers. Also, another major thing is that we've seen a sharp increase in successful phishing emails. And most of these are related to COVID news and now other social issues going on. But people are very hungry for information, for updates on the news. And these attackers, it all starts out with, all right, I'm going to draft this email. It's going to look legitimate, and it's going to have some headline in there that's just irresistible to clicking. And like I said, I read a lot of reports, and depending on the report you read, and this goes back about 2.5 years, all successful breaches, or I shouldn't say all, but of successful breaches, somewhere between 85 and 95% of those all start with a phishing email. So it's getting somebody to simply click on a link that's going to activate some type of malware that gets downloaded. That is a huge amount of percentage, and this is really how these things get started. And right now, what these attackers are really fishing for, really looking for, is stealing usernames and passwords for these users. So going back a little bit, and Cisco Talus, I'm going to get more into them a little bit later, but this is the back-end research team for security at Cisco. And by March 15th, they were able to locate about 47,000 domains listed with the keywords COVID or Corona in that. And about 4% of those were identified and blocked as malicious sites. Jumping ahead to May 19th, that number of domains had increased to over 71,000, of which 34% of those were considered malicious and they were blocked. So we're definitely seeing these attackers going on this trend, really going after these key terms for people to click on. So many work from home users, they're not quite used to this, and they don't have a secure mentality. Proofpoint put out a survey about, to a whole bunch of users, and about 45% of those they admit to reusing passwords, and I'm guessing that if people were completely honest, this number would actually be a lot higher. 50% admitted that they don't even have password protection on their home networks. And this last statistic really scared me, really got me. And 32% said they do not know what a VPN is. As a security person, that just scares me. I'm hoping that these people who answer this way, they actually have VPN, they actually use it sometimes, and they simply did not know what a VPN was referring to. At least that's just my hope, that is such a key thing. NetWalker, this is one of the major ransomware operators in the world, and they admitted, yeah, we'll stop attacking hospitals, but they didn't say so, but they were going after the work from home users. Since March, they have made over $25 million, and their primary attack has been through remote desktop protocol endpoints, because they've been able to get hold of these credentials through spear phishing employees. Right now, just to throw this number out, I get this question a lot, and it varies so much, but the average right now, cost of a data breach is about $3.9 million for an SMB, and compare that to the large companies out there, the average cost is about $116 million. So obviously, a lot of companies out there could not afford to recover from that. And right now, what we are seeing, and this is across the board for everybody, excuse me, organization pain points. So obviously, number one, we have to have our employees be able to connect remotely. So are they able to, verify usernames and passwords correctly, and are they able to access the actual business applications that they really need to perform their duties? The other topic is collaboration. Do people have access to some type of video conferencing? Are we able to share, conversation through chat, and also file sharing, things like that? And the big thing we're talking about here is being able to secure all of these things. So is our connection to the office applications secure? Are our video conferencing and our chats, are these secure? Because we certainly don't want to have everybody working remotely talking, sharing files, and then having the attackers able to get their hands on any of that information or those files. And it all does need to start with some type of next generation firewall solution. So this is what's going to be at the home base of the organization operating the robust security. And for Cisco, for I would say medium-sized businesses and up, we look at Cisco Firepower. Again, this was originally SourceFire. They were #1 in the industry for intrusion prevention systems as well as malware protection. So Cisco acquired that, rebranded as Firepower. So now they're considered, I don't want to say #1 across the board, because depending on the report, the test, that varies a little bit, but they're certainly a top provider in this area. And Cisco has appliances ranging from the 1000 series. So this is going to be sized for, anywhere from 100 and less. And then above that, we would look to the 2100 series, and it goes up, and we're able to produce even terabits of throughput into the 9000 series. So with this, again, this is going to operate at the main base of the organization, and it's going to provide robust security. So it's going to be intrusion prevention systems, application visibility control, and malware protection, as well as web filtering. And what this solution is designed for, it is designed to be top-end security, and it does require somebody who's pretty much dedicated to the system to really operate. You wouldn't want to have a jack of all trades of an IT or department operating the system. It's very good, but it's a bit complicated to operate. And the other platform that Cisco has is Cisco Meraki. This was another acquisition. It's not considered strictly in the security portfolio because it does all of the route switch, security, wireless, and even video now. And the big difference here is this is meant to be the easy button when it comes to the network. It's entirely cloud operated and managed. And if you purchase this type of solution, you actually receive your equipment, your serial numbers are listed right in the documentation that comes with it. You already have a cloud management set up for you, and you simply log into that. You put in your serial numbers, you plug these things to connect to the internet, and instantly you have a dashboard to manage and run your analytics. So big difference from the Firepower, where Firepower is meant to be the robust security, someone who's really an expert in running security. And again, this is meant to be more of a simpler solution, simpler to set up, operate, and do the analytics. There is a bit of a difference as far as capabilities in security and in reporting. You're going to have the option to program all kinds of different things in Firepower. The Meraki platform, again, it's meant to be quite a bit simpler. So there is, for example, limited reporting capabilities, but you're typically, not looking for that deep level of analytics if you're on the Meraki platform. So Cisco's official secure remote worker solution, and this comprises of 4 solutions: Cisco AnyConnect VPN solution, Cisco Umbrella DNS security, Cisco Duo for multi-factor authentication, and AMP for endpoints. And we'll touch on each of these in a little bit of depth. So Cisco Umbrella, this was another acquisition. It was the company called OpenDNS, and Cisco acquired them, and it's been rebranded as Cisco Umbrella. And this is DNS layer security. So, prior to March, I would have said this is your additional layer of security for most of your employees. Beyond the firewall and all those types of things, the way this operates is you're simply rerouting all DNS queries away from the service provider, which would be the public type of DNS servers. And anyone out there can simply create a DNS entry with a domain which could be malicious. So this is very similar to what I would call the Better Business Bureau, where basically Cisco's going through that entire DNS entry list and filtering it out and saying, okay, let's test all these out. Whichever ones we deem to be malicious, we're simply going to block that and not allow the user to connect to that domain. Now that we're in this shift and we have all these work from home users, and again, if they're not connecting through VPN, they're pretty much vulnerable. They don't have encryption. They're not going through the corporate firewall and things like that. So now we're really looking at Umbrella to become the first line of defense. We can actually force this to operate all the time. So even if they're working from home or from another remote location, like from a coffee shop that has no security set up on their network, this is going to act as a first line of defense for security. And again, this solution is also entirely cloud managed and operated. Should you wish to have a deeper level of forcing policies, you can actually download a client called Umbrella Connector, install it on the endpoint to force some additional layers of security with policies. And Cisco Endpoint. So this is actually a client that's going to live on each endpoint device. And again, this is cloud managed. So once you purchase this product, you're going to have a cloud solution you log into, and you're able to do all your pushes, all your policies set up, as well as all of your analytics. So this actually operates somewhat as a firewall at the machine level. It does provide some intrusion prevention capabilities. It is considered antivirus as well as anti-malware. So the way this operates is whenever a user opens a file or downloads a file, it's going to do an initial disposition check. So we run an algorithm against the file, and that produces what we call a digital fingerprint. And Cisco Talos has a massive list of digital fingerprints that are known as malicious. So we compare it to that list, and if it's deemed, okay, this is a known bad file, we're simply going to remove it and not allow the user to access it and open it. The next step is, okay, we don't know this file, but it is a little bit suspicious for some reason. We actually have sandboxing capabilities right from this endpoint. So it'll actually remove the file from the device. It's going to upload it to the AMP cloud sandboxing, and it's going to open that file. It's going to do some other checks on it. Typically, they also speed up the time. They push it forward, the date on the machine a couple of weeks, just in case there's a time bomb on it. And that returns a score back to AMP for endpoints. And based on the policy that is set, and there's typically a score of 1 through 10, and you actually can set that policy. If it's a 5, don't allow it. If it's a 6, okay, that should be clean enough. Let's allow it in. Now, the next really cool step that AMP does is once we do allow a file in, it doesn't end there. It's actually going to make record of that file and say, okay, we allow this file in at such a date and time, and here's the digital fingerprint. Now, should I share that file with a coworker and send it to them, it's also going to keep track of that. So down the line, if this file does do something malicious down the line, it's going to alert, and then it's also going to say, okay, this file is now known as malicious, and we know it's been shared with these 10 users, so we can actually go right through AMP for endpoint and do a feature we call endpoint isolation. Until this is remediated, we're actually going to not allow connection to the network until this is fixed. And this is currently supported with Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android. The next solution is Cisco Duo, and this was an acquisition about 2 or 3 years ago. And in this case, we actually didn't change the name. It was Duo, now it's Cisco Duo. And this is going to be, again, your multi-factor authentication solution. It's extremely easy to integrate with just about any type of device. Users do have the ability to self-enroll, and I've done this myself. It only takes a couple of minutes to do so. And what I particularly love about this product compared to some other multi-factor authentication solutions is, with your, for example, your email, you kind of set a policy, okay, every 3 days, or from a new connection location, you must authenticate, and you get a text message from Microsoft, and you got to put in some type of code and then things like that. With Cisco Duo, you're going to have your device registered to it, so in most cases it's going to be a smartphone. And I simply get alert on my smartphone saying, did you actually want to do this access, or is this something else going on? And all you have to do is click on allow or deny. And depending on your device, it's going to do the final security check, whether it's a facial recognition or a thumbprint or whatever it may be. So it's very easy to integrate, also very easy for the user to operate, very convenient. There are 3 flavors to this solution. And the first is Cisco Duo MFA, and this is again going to be your single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and things like that, your basic features. The next step is going to be Cisco Duo Access, and in this case, we can actually integrate some policies based on adaptive groups, based on the user, based on a device, things like that. And Cisco Duo Beyond, this is the top tier. we can actually get into trusted endpoint and secure remote access types of features where, for example, it can actually do a check and say, okay, is this device up to date on its browser software and things like that? Is there actually known vulnerabilities inside of that browser software? And if so, we can actually deny access based on that. It also can integrate with some other applications like AMP for endpoints. So it can say to the device, okay, I see AMP for endpoints is running on this device and it's been keeping track. Does this device have any files on it that are considered malicious? And if so, we can actually prevent access until that is taken care of. Now, before Duo, the only way with Cisco you're able to do these levels of features is with a product called Cisco ISE, Identity Services Engine. And that is considered an enterprise level product. It's a bit more complicated to implement correctly and operate and control policies. So you really had to have a person who is an expert on Cisco ISE in order to implement that and run it. Cisco Duo, again, this is a cloud solution. It's extremely easy to set up these features and operate. So I was very excited to see that we have this level of features in a product that is much more feasible for many companies out there. And the final product within the secure remote workers is Cisco AnyConnect, and it is a fantastic VPN product. It really does just work very well, very easily. And it is considered kind of a next generation VPN solution. So you can do basic VPN. You can also do things like endpoint compliance, inspection service. It does integrate with Duo and AMP as well. So again, we can do things like, hey, is this user up to date on their software? Is there anything running according to AMP that could be malicious, and check on things like that. It also integrates with a lot of different Cisco solutions. Now, bear in mind, you do have to have some type of VPN server, and that's typically going to be either the next generation ASA, or it's going to be the current Firepower product line. It can also integrate with any of the secure routers like the ISR, the ASR, or the CSR. Now, again, that was the 4 products that are considered to be part of the secure remote worker solution. Officially, Cisco email security is not a part of that. However, like I had said earlier, 85 to 95% of all successful attacks start with a phishing email. So this is a key piece to keeping your organization secure. And this can operate either as an on-premise appliance, or it can actually operate in the cloud as Cisco Cloud Email Security. And some of the major features incorporated with this is going to be spam and threat filtering. So it's going to do some things like IP reputation filtering. Where is this coming from? Do we know this is a bad domain? And things like that. Also anti-spam. If this is obviously a big spam email, we're simply going to block that and throw it to the trash bin. Malware and attachment control. And this is going to be some basic antivirus outbreak filters and things like that. If you want to make this more robust, you can actually add AMP services to that. So this is actually going to run at the email server level. So we're going to still be able to do all those things like file reputation checking, sandboxing, retrospection, remediation, and things like that. Anti-phishing and malicious URL detection, another feature that can be added on. So it's going to actually run a check against all the URLs and see if they are actually malicious or not. Also outbreak filters. When Cisco Talus does that backend check and says, hey, we know about this outbreak of bad emails, we can simply put a digital fingerprint to it and be able to block all of that, and also advanced phishing protection. Also, what's really cool about this solution is it actually does data loss prevention. And these are policies that, again, you were able to set. So for example, for a bank, there is actually a regulation that states you may not send out an email with a file attached that contains both a social security number as well as the bank account number. They can't be in the same document. So we can actually program those types of data strings into this. And if someone is attempting to send that and would break compliance, we're actually able to block that. And as I had mentioned, Cisco Talus, the back-end research team at Cisco, and for once, we don't have an acronym here. Cisco Talus does not actually stand for anything, but Talus was the Greek god of protection, so that's what they named themselves after. And this is a global group, and they are considered to be the largest non-governmental threat research group in the world. And I could throw about 20 slides at you that go over all these crazy stats. So I'm just going to mention a few of them. 120 terabytes of data received daily, millions of telemetry agents, billions of detections from malware, email, DNS, web, IPS, etc., and over 100 threat intelligence partners. So the question often comes up, hey, does Cisco actually share this research and intelligence information with other groups? And because every single vendor out there for security has a team like this. It is what makes any security solution work and makes them effective. So the answer to that is, yeah, they actually do share this information with a lot of other research teams out there, and the difference being, the threat information is out there, but it's really what Cisco is able to do with that information that makes them so effective. So basically, every Cisco security solution that is working out there is operating as a gigantic network as a sensor, if you will. So anytime a file comes into anyone who's running AMP and they block that file, it sends a note back to Talus. Whenever we have what we call a day zero threat, so happens very often where it gets on the list and a file gets blocked. And the attacker is actually going to modify that file because they know if they modify it a little bit, the digital fingerprint comes out to something different, and they don't know about that, so it's going to be allowed in. And in the case when that does happen, and on any entity running AMP for endpoints, for example, it acts malicious, and it returns that fingerprint back to Cisco and says, hey, this is something new. Here's the file, open it up, do what you do. They're going to analyze it. They're going to come out with a patch for it, a fix and a block for it. And then it's going to push that down to every single other Cisco security solution running out there. So it's instantly updated, and now everyone is protected against that. And some resources I want you to be aware of for 3 of these products, Umbrella, AMP for Endpoints, and Duo. Cisco actually does offer free trials for this. For Umbrella, you can test for up to 14 days at no cost. For AMP, 60 days. And for Duo, you can download 10 licenses. And there's no official time limit on that, but within reason, they will eventually turn that off. So you are able to actually work with us and try these out if you wish. If you're not quite ready for that, if you would like to see a live demonstration of any one of these solutions, we'd be more than happy to set you up with that. And again, if you have other questions as far as, hey, I don't know if I'm secure, I don't know if I have a next generation firewall, or let's look into and do a gap analysis and say, do I have any major holes in my systems, in my security plan that need to have work done on that? Compulink absolutely is the go-to for that, and would definitely be able to help you with that and figure out solutions for those. And with that, I would like to open it up for questions and answers at this point.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you for that presentation. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat and we'll read them out loud. But Kevin, there is a question I came across is, let's say you get emails that impersonate your colleagues, right? Your supervisor. How do you prevent those emails from coming into your network or your inbox in the first place? Like phishing emails.
Go back up too far. Okay, so under the feature of anti-spoofing, we have a feature called forged email detection. And this does take some work to program this in, but for example, for Cisco, what we would do is we're going to put Cisco in there, and it's going to look for a common denominator. So very often with Cisco, you're going to replace the I with a lowercase l, or you're going to replace the O with a 0. So you can set those policies, and it's going to check that. Did somebody slightly change the wording in the domain, in the signature, and things like that? It's also going to check the sender's email address to see if it's slightly off It can even match to the email address that's in the signature against the domain. So if somebody types up an email and it looks official from Cisco's CEO, however, at the very bottom, it actually shows the return email or the signature email as @gmail.com. It can kind of match against that and say, no, this email is obviously forged. We're going to quarantine it. It's not going to get to the user's inbox, and also send an alert to the security team.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah, so it looks like I'll give it a few more seconds to see if there are any more questions, but it looks like there aren't many. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I found a question. How does Cisco integrate with Chromebooks?
How does Cisco integrate with Chromebooks? Well, I can say that Endpoint, Umbrella Connector, AnyConnect VPN solution, they are fully compatible with Chromebook and will operate on those systems. In our world, we actually consider Chrome to be under the Google, the Google name, because they're owned by the same company. So if we say, yeah, it's compatible with Android, yes, it's also compatible with Chromebook. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, someone asked that in the chat. Okay, so we'll give a few more, a minute, one more minute for questions, and see if anyone asks any more questions. All right, Kevin. Looks like our attendees do not have any questions currently. But Kevin, can you pull up the slide with our contact information again towards the end?
I believe I can. I can. Okay. Yeah. There we are. And again, if there's any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Compulink, and I work closely with them quite often. So they can either answer those questions for you, or they can pass them over to me, and we'd be glad to have a chat on whatever you may have questions on.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, Kevin, for that amazing presentation on Cisco cybersecurity. As we all know, as we've all learned currently, that the minute you get breached, the cost to your organization is devastating. So you do not want to get breached. And the vulnerability of endpoint devices has drastically increased since COVID-19. Was one more fun fact before we hang up is, according to FBI, since COVID-19, reported cybercrimes have gone up by 300%. And these targets are usually government agencies, small to medium-sized businesses, even enterprise-sized businesses, and educational institutions. And that's why we have this today, to present these insights and present these strategies to you. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to me directly at tchaudhary@compu-link.com. Additionally, right now I'm going to let me see if it's sending. My chat isn't sending, but in the chat, I put out a questionnaire form. So those of you who are involved in the special giveaway that we promised in the email campaign, do click on the questionnaire and write more about what you think of how this webinar went. And yeah, just, fill it out. We'd like to know what you think. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, thank you, Kevin.
My pleasure.